Hello, everybody. My name's James, and for the benefit of those listening back to the audio, you're listening to Ask James, my regular YouTube live stream, where I welcome questions from the YouTube community. To timestamp this, it's just gone past 3 p.m. UK time, and as usual, I'll answer questions submitted on YouTube in order of submission. Repeat/similar questions may well be skipped. I will cover up to whenever I get to at 4 p.m. UK time. I'm back from Paris, had a great trip, much better from Tottenham last night in terms of at least their intent off the ball. I feel a bit better than I did this time yesterday. Let's be honest, it couldn't be worse than Sunday. I've not seen a lot of the rest of the Champions League games from last night. I have seen the goals in the Liverpool game. And our Slack community was on absolute fire last night with chat about what's going to happen potentially with Arne Slot. Have they given up on him? I don't know. Let's see if anyone asks. Super Ilan says, "Hi James, I really want to buy Doku, but can't decide which of my midfielders to sell him for. From Ndiaye, Sarr, and Semenyo. Who would you get rid of?" I'm not sure I'd get rid of any of them if it's just for the transfer. Everton got Newcastle at the weekend, away form bad. I do have a sneaky that Newcastle will possibly do well actually at the weekend I was going to say Goodison Park. It's not anymore. The Hilly Dick. Then Bournemouth away. Then Forest at home. Then it's rough. And obviously he goes to AFCON. Sarr, United at home. Burnley away. Fulham away. Probably sell in 16. You'll have the transfers then to do it. Semenyo, possibly a little bit about how you feel and how much value you've got in him. So if you're one of the early people on him, I probably wouldn't be letting him go. I've made a decision. I've already committed to it that he's not going to be on my wild card. I bought at 7.4, sold at 7.7. So obviously dipped down to 7.9. I think the value is important in terms of that. If you're not on Semenyo by much, it's possibly him at this moment. But further down the line, you're going to be forced into selling Ndiaye and Sarr unless you've still got the wild card in your pocket. So it might make more logical sense for it to be one of the other two. Probably rather it was Ndiaye, but I wouldn't run from that. He was great Monday night, by the way. Dan Vrasiko says, "Are you tempted to keep Bowen on the basis he is one of a few likely to play 90 times free? Watford, Liverpool, and then Man United away and Brighton away? No, thank you. I've owned Jared Bowen for 12 weeks. And do you know what? He's not done too badly. Like, I think he's got one less FPL point than Jean-Philippe Mateta, for example. But he's also not been involved in any of West Ham's 8 goals across the last 3 game weeks. So, no, absolutely none whatsoever. And I know, again, there was a bit of chatter last night. Oh, maybe you should go in on a free hit. We've gone all the way from, we should probably go treble Liverpool on a free hit. So, should we go West Ham players against them? Yeah, no, I definitely will not be keeping Jared Bowen. No chance. Hasselbank wins, says James. 3 things. 1, Chelsea's best 11 once Palmer is back. Does Estevao get in? Okay, I'll answer that first. Chelsea's best 11 in terms of strongest. So, all right, let me do this a different way. The team that I think starts against Arsenal, right? The most difficult opponent in the league. So, Sanchez, Gusto, Fofana, Chalobah, Cucurella, Reece James, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Estevao, Neto, João Pedro at the moment. I think that's probably Chelsea's 11 at the weekend. So I'll say with that at the moment. Second question is, well, you did ask with Palmer back. With Palmer back, probably Palmer from the right if Gusto's going to play right back. If not, it's Palmer essentially with Reece James at right back, Enzo Fernandez deeper, Estevao in the team. There's no doubt Estevao is going to become starting player. I did watch the game Tuesday night. They were absolutely brilliant, Chelsea. Number 2 says, one name Chelsea should bring in either in January or next summer to take them to the next level. I think it's to the next level is probably a 9, isn't it? Harry Kane. No one clipped that. And 3, Sunday prediction. I don't think Chelsea lose on Sunday, actually. I don't think it'll matter whatsoever. Even if Chelsea win, it will make no difference to Arsenal. We're going to go and win the league. I think it will be 1-0 to Chelsea or 1-1. Next up is CM Punk 2310. No, it's not. It's Dan Vrecko again says this could be a classic overthink. If Rodgers starts tonight, are you concerned for minutes on the weekend? Difference to last season is he's now playing regular international football, so less breaks. Yeah, Emery doesn't fit any differently about him. He's indestructible. So yeah, I think it would be that. It would be an overthink. CM Punk says, "Hi James, have free hit and wild card left. Definitely using one this week. Team doesn't need a wild card. Currently on free hit 13, wild card 16. Can take a few good punts on wildcard with the 5 free transfers plus more info. Thoughts?" I don't think you're just looking for confirmation bias, mate. You're saying your team doesn't need a wildcard, so you're not going to wildcard. I don't really know what to add on top of that, mate. Sounds fine. Pat says, "Hi James, not specifically FPL related, but how crazy good are Arsenal now as an overall unit?" I don't know if there's an expansion in terms of what you're looking for from me in terms of overall unit. When you say overall, we're talking about the depth of the squad. We're talking about how they are defensively versus and collectively how they are offensively. And look, I'll sum it up by saying this, which I told my dad last night, even before the game against Bayern. They're the best team in Europe at the moment. I would defy anyone to tell me any differently. I don't know if they are favourites with the bookmakers for the Champions League, but they should be. I watched PSG obviously last night. I watched Barcelona Tuesday night. Real Madrid conceded 3 goals last night. Bayern Munich got beat at Arsenal. They are the best unit in the world at the moment. And I wouldn't say it's like they should win the Champions League. Ultimately, it's a cup competition. And the form now doesn't necessarily equate to what happens in March, April. Okay? This time last year, people saying, "Can Liverpool win like the quadruple and shit like that?" No one's going to suggest that this season. So with the Champions League, quite often you have to hit your peak. This time last year, PSG were struggling to get out stay in the competition, right? They finished the competition as the best team in it. Right now, at this moment, Arsenal are the best team in Europe. And I don't actually even feel pain saying it because it's just a reality. James Cook says, "Hi James, do you think Colin Moani will start on the weekend? I fancy putting him in my free hit team, dependent on the possibility of him starting. Cheers." I would say most likely, purely on Richarlison obviously started Sunday, and then obviously last night played the whole game. So Richarlison and his historic injury record, I would suggest yes, most likely Colin Moani probably does start. By the way, obviously played together last night. It's not improbable that's the case. However, I don't say this with enough confidence for me to say to you, yeah, go him on a free hit. I mean, excuse me, if you're going free hit this week, it's Haaland, Thiago, and then one more, isn't it? I can't make a logical case, really, for you to put Moani in. Really, I think there are others, even at that cheaper price, that I'd probably prefer. So forwards, there isn't like a plethora of brilliant options this week. And I'll do a free hit draft for the weekend or tomorrow, but there won't be any Tottenham players in it, mate. CMP FAR says, "Hi James, I want a good 8th attacker for upcoming fixture congestion. Have 5.4 to spend. I'm thinking Elliot Anderson. Anyone else I should consider? I don't want to dead spot it. Thanks." No, okay, that's fair enough. Probably not, because anything else, something like a Diego Gomez probably comes with an element of risk to that. Same too with, say, like an Emi Buendia, as people were asking about last week. No one's asking about this week. So, yeah, if at that value you want someone who's going to kind of play every game, gives you great cover, yeah, it's consistent ads, fixtures are good. I've got them 5th on my ticker over the next 5 weeks. Yeah, I won't argue against it, mate. CM Punk says, "What's your opinion on using Wildcard 16 for price changes? Crowd will see 5 free transfers and start making changes. If you are unsure about when to use it, seems like a good time to get a good jump in team value." I'm sure it probably will help from a team value perspective, but then I don't think everyone's going to blow 5 free transfers in 16. There'll be a lot of people going, "I'm going to use 1 or 2 now and keep going." So does that have impact 17, 18, etc.? You know, if most people had like an average of, say, 4 free transfers, is it going to make wildcard in game week 20? No, it's not. So, yeah, it helps. It will aid from that perspective. But then also, if people are making 5 free transfers, I spoke about this last week, it does allow people to take the gamble of the early transfer more to increase their value. We had a great question on that last week. So, yeah, but it wouldn't be a reason to wildcard. Oh, I can make more team value. Wildcard is about improving the team generically, right? I wouldn't use team value as a reason for it. Yes, it is helpful. Harry B says, yes, James, curious to know how you think Chelsea Arsenal will go. Covered. Outside of centre-back and goalkeeper, I think Chelsea are the stronger team and play better football rather than slowly turning the game into the NFL. Disagree with that. I wish I could, but I can't disagree. I can't agree with that. And I've not even seen the goals from last night's game to particularly give comment on that. In terms of Chelsea and their strength, yeah, I said, I think on Monday's pod, that I felt City were probably more likely to finish second. But if you told me Arsenal imploded and won the league, and actually saying implode would be quite harsh at this stage, then I think Chelsea are more likely because I think they'll have greater consistency. They're harder to beat, definitely harder to beat than City. I don't agree with the NFL analogy. It's a nice little, let's throw a dig Arsenal's way, but I think we're past it. Particularly this one, it was in the away end at the weekend. Can't label that. Simon Kurt says, hi James, do you think Tavernier will keep the penalties this week with Semenya back? Presume Kluivert is still out. Could. I mean, ultimately Semenya missed at Villa, didn't he? And Tavernier didn't piss about with the strike against West Ham at the weekend. So it's a possibility. I think any of us could say particularly, right? Why would Semenya take them over Tavernier in the first place? Maybe there's a pecking order. That pecking order may have changed. I think any of us will know, mate. Diljeet says, good afternoon, James. I hope the trip to Paris was nice. Did you try anything interesting food-wise? It's kind of like an emoji of a snail. No, I was not eating any snails in France. There wasn't anything particularly out there. Me and the old man had a nice meal on the Champs-Élysées. Late afternoon yesterday. It was a pasta for me and it was similar for him. So, no, was I trying frogs or snails or anything like that? No, mate. Andy Parker says, hi, mate. Despite result, I hope you enjoyed last night. Yeah, it was a good trip, honestly. We had a really good day. It says, got 2 million in the bank with midweek in mind and thinking of rotation. Got one free transfer. Would you do King to Anderson or still try and take punts on Doku, Sade, etc.? The only thing with Sade, which I didn't realise, he's on 4 yellows, isn't he? Which... I don't know. Is that off-putting if you're investing? Because you're thinking about rotation. Well, if he's suddenly suspended, and I suppose you're almost sitting there going, well, I'm happy if he misses Arsenal away. Yep, I completely get that. With that in mind, I think, look, with Doku, he's kind of been a bit of a joke on this podcast for many years in terms of his output. He's going to be in the wild card for me. I'd be amazed if anything happens in the next 36 hours or so that changes that decision. But I don't know if he'll make it as long as game week 14. Could be I'll view it this week and go, nah, that's not for me. And move it on. Because someone highly likely is only going to stay in there for the 1 week. But yeah, from those, I would go Doku. King to Anderson, I probably wouldn't bother with from a transfer perspective. I don't think King's definitive to stay in the team. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start at Tottenham this weekend. But there'll be constant minutes. I don't see 0 pointers in there or anything. It's going to give you another sort of like 0.9 million or so in the bank. So I wouldn't go King to Anderson at the moment. I would go Doku over Sade at this moment in time. And you know what? If you get to 16 and it's like, actually, yeah, I want to go the other way around, then I think that's fine. James Johnson says, hello, mate. Hope all is well. On wildcard this week, talk me out of the following. 1, Isak up front. 2, goalkeeper rotation of Kelleher and Lamens for the next 3. Then drop Lamens down to Dubravka. On Isak, we obviously don't know in terms of prognosis on Ekitike. I think Arne Slot's speaking now, which isn't it's not ideal for me in terms of sharing the info. I'll try and keep an eye and see if we can find anything while I'm doing the stream. In fact, patrons, if you're watching live, drop it in the Slack channel and drop me a tag. That would be helpful for me. If Ekitike was ruled out long term, you say, oh, okay, he's out for 4-6 weeks or so. I will have a look at a draft with Isak in it because it's opportunity. However, a couple of key things. 1, balance-wise for squad is not great. For me, it would be front 3 then, Haaland, Thiago, and Isak. It would make it difficult if I want to kind of do a hokey-cokey with Thiago in future weeks. And I don't think we could even look at this and go, oh, yes, even under this circumstance, let's say Ekitike was out even for just 3 weeks. Is that going to play Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, and then Tuesday in the Champions League? He's probably not. It's not worth it on anything we've seen so far. You'd be buying a Newcastle player, hoping that something happens. So it's a highly likely no from me. Goalkeeper rotation, I understand what you're saying. Kelleher and Lamans. Don't think that's worth it, mate, from a transfer perspective. Don't waste it. Almost definite for me that keepers will be Verbruggen and Dubravka. Dubravka covers quite nicely the bad Brighton fixtures away from home. So no, I wouldn't be booking in a goalkeeper transfer. You're not likely to make enough gain to make it worthwhile, I don't think. And in terms of dropping Lammers down to Dubravka, I'm arguably just go Dubravka and Kelleher if that's what you want to do in the first instance. Reasons not to is what you don't like game week 15. Just play Kelleher at Tottenham, mate. Diljit says, apologies to someone who's already asked, what's your draft for free hit 13? No idea, mate. I will cover a draft on the weekend with David tomorrow. I have not given FPL draft any thought, including my own wildcard, since Tuesday evening. Not really thought about it at all. I'll have that kind of all in place for the weekend tomorrow. So I will do a draft on the weekend tomorrow, which, subject to team news, might end up being what I go with. I will do it tomorrow, mate. Ready Candent says, hey James, I'm on free hit 13, is going to take Bowen out. Should I keep him as my team's defence is dog shite? Also, would you have an Everton attacker on free hit? Cheers, mate. No and no. No, I think there'd be better alternatives around. I mean, if you don't like the third forward and you're free hit, go 5 in midfield or go 4-4-2. It looks better, I think. Sedation FPL says, hi James, plan was wildcard 13, looking for wildcard 15, no Boomo as Arsenal players, which all on my free hit may not have. Can ride this week and assess with info post game week 14. So how do you value wildcard 13 versus wildcard 15 versus 17 to 19? Team dependent, mate. I'm sorry, it's a shit answer, but I don't think there's like a one size fits all of this is what it should be. If you're sitting there with 6 Chelsea and Arsenal, you probably think it's now, isn't it? For me, it was really obvious to go now, but I've seen other drafts and it's like, yeah, I completely get it. Carry on. So I don't sit there and go, this is better or 15's better. What I would say is what I've continually said all season long is I don't think the players to target will be much different in the forthcoming weeks to what they are now. But there is a relevance of what you're selling. Let's say you got 4 or 5 players going to AFCON. Well, you might be happy with them. You might have Saar and Dye, Boomer. You like, I'm quite happy with all this. Then for you, it's later, isn't it? So it is circumstantial. Dash 30 says, hey James, thanks for taking our questions. Hope you're well. Can you give your take on what you think Liverpool need to do to turn it around? Sign more players, slot out. Cheers. Okay, here we go. I'm not going to talk about it much because I'm sure David's, although he doesn't want to, he's going to need to say bits on the weekend or tomorrow and can give the Liverpool view on it. What we're not there to understand is how deep-rooted the issues are in the dressing room. I have seen little of the game. I just watched the goals literally before starting this stream. And there's nothing I can say from that of they're giving up or not playing. I can't tell you nothing from 5 minutes of highlights. There are plenty of our patrons who support Liverpool whose opinion I think turned off the last night and felt that they've almost thrown in the towel a little bit. Let's see if David says the same, because David earlier in the week was pretty consistent saying, this isn't really a conversation now. Liverpool can't be losing like 3-0 at home to Nottingham Forest and 4-1 at home to PSV without us having an inquest. If they've given up on him in the dressing room, it does not matter what he achieved last season. It's over. Genuinely. You might as well put a caretaker in there till the end of the season. Now, what Liverpool can't do here, though, is panic. If Liverpool deem, with the way that this season has gone, it might be better for it to be a write-off rather than make the wrong appointment now. I.e., all I'm saying is, if they deemed, for example, Julian Nagelsmann or Maurizio Pochettino, whatever they thought was their best choice, and that was only obtainable after the World Cup, wait for that. Don't make the wrong appointment now. And Liverpool season is very unlikely to be recoverable, I think, at this stage to even make them truthfully a contender for the Champions League. Ultimately, it's a cup competition, right? Could they? It's Liverpool. They know how to win the big games, particularly, obviously, European nights at Anfield. But I don't think they should rush the wrong decision, because as well, you're liable to make a mistake in a sense. If you think about United and Ten Hag as a comparison, and appointing Amrim, United would have been well aware in the first few months of last season to begin to be thinking about a contingency, I think. So when the time came, they knew that whether rightly or wrongly, they knew Amrim was where they were going. Okay, that's their decision. I don't know if Liverpool have considered that there was anything that would happen in the opening 3-4 months of this season to make them think they'd be looking for a new manager. So you can have like a, oh shit, panic, sack him. Oh shit, panic, appoint the wrong guy. They probably need to take their time. I was thinking on the way back today about, people would laugh at the Steven Gerrard suggestion, and I'd be one of them. But actually, this season is in such a state at the moment. Maybe something like that. Say, right, do you know what? Put him in till the end of the season, see how you feel, and then make a decision in spring. Do you want to? Does that work? Because he's in the right environment. It's his club. All those things. And if it doesn't, nothing's really lost. I know they look a shit show at the moment. The worst thing that will happen to Liverpool this season is they don't qualify for Europe. That's the very worst thing that could happen. The ambition for the rest of this season should be to obviously qualify for next season's Champions League. That should be the ambition now. But it's obviously, it's a minimum expectation for Liverpool, right? But the situation's bad. Do you consider that if you went down that sort of route that it might not be better? Think of Chelsea, the Frank Lampard scenario. It's bad, didn't work out. I don't know what the solutions are, but ultimately, it's got to be something in the dressing room. What the people upstairs need to do now is need to speak to the leaders who might not be playing well at the moment, find out what's going on. They may already be doing it. They might not be doing it. But a conversation needs to be happening with the Van Dijk, Salahs, like legit straight-faced questions to some of the players. Have you given up on him? Do you want change? And if the answer is yes, then no matter what you achieved last year, you got an inevitable conclusion. So it depends what's going on behind the scenes. I don't think it's quite a case that they've given up on him personally. And I think unless the position is untenable, i.e. the players have given up, they should stick with it at the moment. That's how I feel. How do you turn it round? I don't really like using the word basics, but there has to be a focus first and foremost on defending properly. Because if Liverpool defend properly, they've got more than enough firepower to shoot down most teams. Sadation says, hello, James. Which Chelsea, Palace, Bournemouth players would you have on a wildcard 15 or wildcard 17 or 19? Smashing likes are free. Hit it. Thank you, mate. One of Lacroix or Munoz. Probably not both, and that's possibly, it's going to be a close decision for me on the two. It is possible I go with two. It's probably going to be 2 from 3 for me, I think, between those two players and Malik Chow from Newcastle, which I think just covers me rotation-wise a little bit better for some of the upcoming games. But I do prefer, if you said to me, Lacroix or Chow, yeah, okay. But it's a rotation idea if I take Chow in. Mateta as the obvious Palace one. I'd keep a close watch on Jeremy Pino over forthcoming weeks. Bournemouth, back for Semenyo if it's 17. 15, don't bother. Senesi, don't overcomplicate it. Chelsea, Sanchez, and then a watching brief over forthcoming weeks. My instinct would be nothing other than that. Colin Johnson says, hi mate, best option on free hit with a double defence, City, Brentford or Villa, so Donnarumma, O'Reilly or Kelleher, and Collins or Martinez and Cash. City could win 6-1 at the weekend. You get nothing out of Donnarumma or O'Reilly. I don't think City will, by the way. But judging by Daniel Farke's presser today, it's not looking great for Leeds. Antoine Stack ruled out concussion. Sounds like Sean Longstaff's possibly going to be out till New Year. Yeah, not bad. I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds went 5-4-1. I'll have a think about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went 5-4-1 at City. I did think earlier this season they'd do that in a game. I think at Arsenal game week 2. I want to say they didn't. I can't recall. So not City double defence. I think the wheel on a free hit will be treble Villa. Listening to our patrons who support Villa and Lee Jackson on COTC, the vibe is very much for just this one specific week. Probably if you are going treble, double defence because there isn't enough justification to go for Ollie Watkins or a midfield alternative to Morgan Rogers. Now, something might happen from the game tonight. You go, oh, that's fallen into place. I really think Buendia will start this weekend, right? Difficult to say at this moment. So probably then Martinez, Cash, Rogers, therefore. Jack Flash says, in my lifetime, England's main striker has been Lineker, Shearer, Rooney, and then Kane. Who is the next one? And do you foresee it being a problem in the future? Might be someone we haven't even heard of yet. I mean, Harry is performing as well as he ever has. Again, I didn't watch the game last night. It sounds like he didn't have much of a kick. He won't play that defence every week or that opponent. He's playing as well as he ever has. Should we look at Harry Kane and think, oh, he'll be done in 3 years necessarily? I don't know. He looks after himself really well off the pitch. And because he's not a player that's ever been blessed with great pace, he's more liable to carry on for more years. The players you mention, a little bit different in terms of Lineker took a little while, but still got in relatively young. Shearer was blocked by Lineker for a bit, otherwise probably would have been in earlier. Rooney, and you've probably missed out Owen off that list. Rooney got in at 18. Kane got in like within 6 months being in the Tottenham team, basically. So if Kane was to carry on till Euro 2028, what's to say we haven't got a 19-year-old that looks amazing in 3 years? So I wouldn't worry about it too much. The most likely at the moment is probably Liam Delap, who I thought had a strange game against Burnley at the weekend. He took the goal really well on Tuesday night. Was nice and composed in the moment. Liam Delap is the closest to profile of Harry, but at this moment, there's nothing we should stress about. And the game, I realise there's more direct football happening, but particularly at international football that's a little bit slower and stuff, Bellingham's, Foden's, Palmer's, Anthony Gordon's, a completely different profile to the other three. They could all play the 9 position for England. Those players, I mean, Bellingham, Palmer, what have they got at the top level? 10 years? I wouldn't be stressing, mate. JP Zizou says, hi, mate. With Spurs' shocking defending, should I start Senesi or VDV? This week, probably Senesi because of the little bonus of DEFCON, which you would expect to be there, I think, this weekend. VDV probably not. So then you're banking on clean sheet Tottenham. Mind you, there's obviously there's an attacking threat with both of those two players. I would probably be Senesi personally of the two. Also consider Romero suspended this weekend. And despite him being quite culpable last night, Tottenham's defence isn't better without him. So Senesi for me. James H says, hi James, on free hit this week and I've got Salah and VVD in there at the moment. Are they worth the punt? Or should I be looking elsewhere? You can fit them both in, put them both in. I think VVD's still fine despite last night. I would not be surprised if Liverpool sort their mindset out, go to West Ham, dominate the ball, as long as they set up well for transition, which if Somerville is not available, I think West Ham struggle personally from that perspective. Then actually I think there's a legit chance for Liverpool clean sheet at the weekend. So VVD fine. Is Salah worth that money? No, but unless you've got enough players at sort of like the 8-9 million value that you want to stick in, if you can fit Mo in, stick him in. JP Zizou says, if you had free hit and triple captain left for your team, how would you use the chips? Dependent on what I have. Triple captain, as I said earlier week, my slight preference is for 17. That's not to put anybody off of using it this weekend, particularly even more so actually with that Leeds team news today and Haaland having a relative break in terms of him being a sub in midweek. We can expect Haaland to start all of the Premier League games over the next 3 game weeks. So I wouldn't put anybody off. I still have a preference for 17 from that perspective personally, but the free hit is more valuable and more important. So it's dependent what I've got. It's kind of difficult to answer with the fact that I'm wildcarding. I would say if I didn't have the wildcard left and had the team I had, I'd be free hitting this week, personally. But I wouldn't have built my team the way I did. I knew I was dead-ending it to here, right? Next up is Murphy says, hi, mate. Mateta and Donnarumma or Foden and Kelleher on free hit. Will be double Brentford attack. No, Riley is in if that helps. Surely you're going... The thing is, though, it's treble City either way, isn't it? So Donnarumma or Foden. I think Foden and Kelleher, personally. But I prefer Doku over Foden for the week, personally. And that'll free up some money for you. But yeah, from yours, I just don't really like... I mean, your options here, it's kind of Mateta or Foden. So what's happening up front instead? Let's see, if you go Doku and Kelleher, can you still go Mateta as well? Cole Slipper says, hi, James. I hope Harris was okay. Would you prioritise getting Timber or Calafiori over O'Reilly as a Gabriel replacement? I think timing is right to stick Nico O'Reilly in this week, but I'm not going to say ignore Arsenal. Because if you have none, you're still going to want it. And think of outcome bias I speak about sometimes. What if Arsenal go to Chelsea and keep clean sheet at the weekend? It's going to feel desperate afterwards. So... there's a possibility that I set up this week and actually bench Timber this week. He's a possibility because I think there's some real strong defensive options this week. Would I prioritise O'Reilly over the Arsenal defender? I'd say probably not. But I also know that I'm attacking that with a bias that I'm 0.3 up on Timber. And were I not, I might have taken Arsenal 1 at the moment just for a little bit, just for 3 game weeks or so. I don't think I'd buy Calafiori at this moment. I'd be conscious of rotation, but that also applies to O'Reilly as well. Timing-wise, I would attack it on O'Reilly, I think. JP Zizou also start Enzo or Ndiaye. I'd start Ndiaye, mate, with Newcastle's away from. FPL Uproar says, well gone, James, on wildcard this week and thinking about putting Morgan Gibbs-White in. Thoughts on him? Well, he's out tonight and he's a doubt, so... unless you're given some real clarity from Nuno tomorrow, this isn't really a discussion point, unfortunately. Scored in the last 3. Little bit of good form. That's 3 and 4, therefore, under Sean Dyche with the blank coming at Bournemouth. So, returns in all the last 3. But if you, unless you've got clarity, you're not sticking him in, mate, if he's yellow flag for the weekend. Murphy says, with the last couple of weeks to use transfers up, do you prefer Thiago to Voltemade or Richards to O'Reilly, Munoz in 14? I would prefer the transfers to be used on attacking players. That's it. AT says, I have 2 free transfers. Would you swap Isak for Thiago or Roll, hoping Liverpool turn up? So you've got Isak. You're already there. I mean, ultimately, it depends on this Ekateke news. I would say if it's like, oh, Ekateke is doubtful, then I'd think the worst case scenario is, or let's say the best case scenario, Isak starts Sunday, then doesn't start Wednesday. So if Ekateke is in contention, I think it's a move, personally, and start spreading that money. If Ekateke is ruled out for a few weeks, I don't know, you've been on Isak, arguably leave it. For many people, there'll be a problem. If you're thinking about Isak, for most people, it'll be a structure problem, right? How do I get there? I'm conscious of that. Setting up. Is there a scenario where suddenly explodes? There's no signs of it at the moment. But if I was already on, if Ekateke was ruled out, I'd be sitting there with it, I think. Cal says, hi, James. Hope you're well, mate. Start and die on Minter this week and die again. Reasons said. As said, I think Newcastle might get something this weekend, but their away form is absolutely dreadful. So, and die. FPL Player 1 says, hi, James. Hope you're well. If you're in charge of Liverpool now, would you sack Arne Slot? I'm going to skip because I answered a very similar question earlier. If I was in charge, I'd be finding out what's going on in that dressing room. Crimson Skull says, hi, James. Any love for Livramento or Hall on wildcard? Could be the creativity Newcastle need. Cheers. No, not really. No real justification for Livramento over Chow, I think. Chow won't hit many DEFCONs, but he'll hit some. Probably a little bit more secure in the team. Let's consider Burns back from suspension this week. If Trippier is available as well. The amount of games coming up and the injuries those two players have had. No, there isn't really, I don't think. I'd love to put Lewis Hall in If we're playing last year's game, I'm possibly chancing him, but we're not. We're playing this year's game. AT says, would you go against bringing in Danny Welbeck from next week due to his age and fixture congestion? He's both Villa and West Ham at home next week. So if you want to buy him in 14, ultimately this will be how you feel about after Nottingham Forest. It's a 3-day turnaround. The game's Wednesday night. You'll hear from Hertzler presumably Tuesday, although he's one of the earlier ones. You might even get something on Monday in terms of his potential recovery. But then at that stage, if Hertzler does Monday morning, not going to have any idea what Welbeck's recovery is. That would be the concern. The Wednesday game is the concern. I know it's the tougher game, but Wednesday is the concern. It's then 4 days to Villa. So it's just how he is in terms of the 3-day turnaround. See how you feel after Forest. I don't really think we can answer that at the moment. If you are looking to invest, ultimately, you're not silly. You are going, shit, is Danny Welbeck going to start 3 games in a week? It's questionable, isn't it? Now, if he does well at Forest and he gets taken off on 70 or so, that feels like the ideal, right? At that point, I'd be going, okay, I'm comfortable with this, I think. Harry Trimble says, hope you had some fun in Paris. Which 2 Arsenal defence would you choose? I'm on wildcard, currently on Raya and Timber. I'm up 0.4 on the former. Yeah, I get that. If you've got strong value in Raya, I could totally understand why you'd stick in there. That wouldn't be my choice, but I understand it from your perspective, Harry. If I was going double at the moment, I mean, Hincapi not starting last night, I was like, oh, that looked great at 5.4. Not enough, is it? The thing is, you can go Timber Calafiori and neither starts against, say, probably not the Brentford game, but Wolves 16. Easily be Wyatt, Lewis Skelly. I think if you're committing to it at the moment, Rare Timber's fine. You're not going to lose both. Rare will obviously play every game. If I was doing double defensive at the moment on wildcard, me personally, I'd go Rare and Saliba. I see you, Mr. T. Thank you, mate. And my hair can't be fine when I haven't really got a lot. Harry Trimble says, hope you had some fun. I've just done that one, literally. It's in there twice, mate. Rami says, who would you say is best manager option if Slot gets sacked? Like I said, so look, let's not pretend over the last few days I've not been thinking what solutions might be for Tottenham, right? And I realised for Liverpool, probably a calibre higher. So, for example, there was a bit of chat last night about Andoni Iraola on the Slack channels. And it's like, Andoni Iraola would not walk from Bournemouth to Tottenham mid-season. I really don't think so. The Liverpool job would be much harder to turn down. But thinking about solutions for Tottenham, and by the way, there was no signs of Frank's lost the dressing room from Tottenham last night. He actually set the team up really well. I'll discuss that on the weekend or tomorrow. He's like, I don't know what the solution is. No, I want that manager. I don't know what that solution is. So, like I said, I think they should stick at the moment unless he's lost the dressing room. The solution is not to panic. That's more important than what the answer for who would be right now. Irish boy Decky says, hi from Ireland, mate. Hello. Mr. T says, triple captain Haaland over using free hit. Covered similar question for someone else. David Hunter's in. Is it that David Hunter or another one? Says, who do you think will score the most points this week in each position? In each position? You want a goalkeeper that's going to end up making a few saves as well, aren't you? Emi Martinez, Nico O'Reilly, Jeremy Doku, why not? And you know the forward. Rory Mack says, play Enzo or Keane. I tell you what, Enzo got in some absolutely brilliant positions in that game against Barcelona on Tuesday night. I thought it was great. That's close. It's just this Arsenal, wasn't it? Unfortunately. I think I'd play Enzo. I mean, as well, if João Pedro didn't start, which I don't think is a definitive definite, I think he will. Enzo even on pens. Palmer's not going to start, surely. AP UK says, can you name me some under-the-radar picks on free hit not many people are talking about, especially the ones which are quite cheap, as my team value is low? Okay. Ren Cherky, maybe. Dango Utara, Brentford. I think it's going to be a few midfielders I'm going to end up putting in here. Keenan Dewsbury Hall of Everton. Actually, really struggling for money. It's kind of going to be near 90 minutes, isn't he? There's a few for you. There will be a Villa answer in there, but that's dependent on their team tonight, I think. Drac Lorian says top 3 mids on wildcard. Top 3 mids on wildcard. Boomo. Although all I would say to that is I might even set up to buy Boomo in midweek, as in for game week 14. So I might get a few players in that could be conceived as 1 week punts and know that one of them is going to end up going to Boomo in midweek. Thank you, Matthew. Let's see what that message says. This is from Arne Slot. It says Alisson trained with the team today. He obviously was sick last night. Florian Wirtz's final day of rehab tomorrow. Could train with the team on Saturday. Hugo Ekitike is not a big issue. Back spasm. And the tweet won't load for me, so I can't see the rest, which is not useful. Oh, that's it. Hugo Ekitike is not a big issue following back spasm. So, yeah, rule Isak out. Probably rules your likes of Gakpo out and stuff. Yes. Mess. Sorry, guys. Thanks for tagging me to that, Matthew. What was it? Wild card? Doku's going in. Rodgers is one of them falls in the 1 weaker bracket. The midfield position is really up for grabs for me. I've not decided on any midfielder definitively for my wild card except for Doku. I know Boomo's probably going to be in and around the thinking. And then it's up for grabs for me on other positions. Sade, Utara. Probably not another City player. Brennan Johnson had been mentioned on COTs. It's no now after Kudos didn't start last night. As in that was one maybe for 3 hitters. No. Minter. And Minter's probably a good one, isn't it? But he's not a definite for me either. That's the area where I want to take the punts. Cole Slipper says, are fans of the Greedy Six clubs less patient than other fans in terms of calling for manager sackings? Maybe. Because it's demands of expectation, isn't it? I wouldn't necessarily just the Greedy Six, because it's still all relative to expectation, right? So if West Ham are fighting relegation every year, they're going to want to change their manager every year, right? If West Ham fans are sitting here this time next year on their 18th, 19th, Nuno probably won't be in a job, right? It'll be someone else again. So it is relative to underperformance versus expectation. But probably as a rule of thumb, yes. Particularly because it's what you get in terms of, think of Tottenham from Arsenal and vice versa, United, Liverpool, etc., City, United. Yeah, probably is a consequence of what opponents are doing as well. Rhino says, hi mate, would you do Sarr to Sade, João Pedro to Thiago, and my 5th defender, Diouf to Nico O'Reilly? This would mean I keep Enzo and Cucurella against Arsenal, but I do fancy them at home. João Pedro to Thiago, yes. Sarr to Sade, probably not at this moment. I don't think so. He says the guy who may well wildcard with Sade and his team and not Sarr. That is a possibility. I don't know if I'd do that for a transfer at this moment, though. Because, again, Sade might fall under one of those that, with the way I set up, I have a 1 week punt possibility, or I could even look at him as a rotation with Minter. I'm considering at the moment not having a dead spot at all. And we had a question earlier about Anderson as like an 8th attacker. Minter could even end up going in as my cheapest attacker is a possibility at the moment. Heather says, team for wildcard 13, please, James. Very little to no content on wildcard for this game week. Thanks. Covered quite a bit. I will show you the draft tomorrow on the weekend. It's not bullshit. I haven't looked at it the last 48 hours. So I promise you, I will look at it in proper detail once I've had some time to work on a few things tonight. I can't promise you it's what I definitely go with because it is still relative to the team news tomorrow. Tom's Lehman says, who are the best three West Ham players to go for on a free hit? All right. Fabianski, Potts, and they've got a cheap forward, haven't they? Put them three on the bench, mate. Niall McNevin says, hi James, pretty set on João Pedro to Thiago this week, but wondering if I should take a hit to transfer out Chalobah too. What do you think? And if selling Chalobah, would you buy Van Dijk or O'Reilly? I'll be going Van Dijk on wildcard. I'm not pulling out of that. And O'Reilly's going in for me as well. I'd probably go O'Reilly at this moment in terms of making a transfer. Would I sell Chalobah for a hit though? No. No, he's definite starter on Sunday. So no, he was absolutely brilliant, by the way, on Tuesday night. Homegrown FPL says, hi James, I'm on free hit this week, but I still have wild cards, so when would you play it? My team is still good. How long's a piece of string, mate? I don't think there's an answer for this. 16 or 17, probably, but without knowing your team, it's, yeah. NT says, hi James, best 1 week pump between Sade, Dango, Foden and Doku. Just the 1 week? I mean, it's probably Doku, isn't it? I'd go to 2 Brentford lads over Foden personally. Morecambe says, hi James, with 8 Nori getting minutes now, should I put O'Reilly in on wildcard 13 or go safer with Nunes, Diaz and switch in 17? Why are... Okay, this is interesting. This is just selling a narrative. I'm not saying you're wrong. But, right, Kusanov played right back. That's not an impact potentially to Nunes in exactly the same way as 8 Nori to O'Reilly? And if not, why not? John Stones played. That's not an impact to Diaz, and if not, why not? They're all the same. They're all the same, mate. So, for me, O'Reilly's the shout. Alpha Boy says, I'm on wildcard 13 wanting to get ahead of the curve with Liverpool. Canate doesn't seem like a good investment anymore, but is it still worthwhile to stick my Haaland Salah draft with 5 free transfer cushions? If that's how you want to set it up, mate, go for it. Go for it. Here's the good news. This is your worst case scenario. Your worst case scenario is that he's terrible and Mo Salah goes to AFCON. And it'll force you to rejiggle. Morecambe says, hi James, is Keane at Everton okay for minutes going forward? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so now. We had a little bit of concern a few weeks ago that O'Brien maybe might nick that spot. But no, Seamus Coleman getting injured Monday night, having just returned, doesn't help either. James Garner's been used to also covering right back. James Garner's very much going to be needed in midfield with Idrissa Gana Gueye suspended. And then I think he might be back for 1 game and then off to AFCON. So O'Brien plays right back, Keane centre back for the foreseeable. Is Michael Keane going to stay in the Everton team all season long? No, there's going to be an impact as and when Jared Branthwaite is fit, but you should be pretty safe for December, bar injuries, mate. Charles Chan says, hi James, would you prefer triple captain 13, free hit 16, rather than free hit 13, triple captain 17, as Leeds conceded 2.5 goals in away matches and got 3 Crystal Palace 2 Man City players? I mean, the relevance of who the Manchester City players they're acquiring, but I'm assuming one is Haaland. You could obviously just buy one. But I don't know how many times I have to say this, guys. The team dependent a little bit. The free hit, all I'd say to that is the free hit for me is way more valuable than triple captaincy. Let's say, let me sell it to you like this. Let's say Haaland got a hat-trick, okay? Say Haaland got a hat-trick at the weekend. You triple captain him, your gain is probably 17 points, yeah? That's probably what we'll get. Just, nearly everybody else is going to captain your gain on that decision, 17 points. In game week 16, you got a bit more of a split where people want to go against. This is just an example. I'm not saying do 16. I'm just using it as an example. Let's say you free hit in 16. You captain Saka. Saka returns same total. Haaland blanks. What's the bigger gain? I'll leave that up to you to decide. All I'd say, the free hit is more powerful than the triple captaincy. That's my view. David James Whiteway says, James, bench Gabriel and buy Minter for Casado, or sell Gabriel for O'Reilly. Other 4 defenders are strong. I don't think Arteta hasn't given an update on Gabriel as far as I've seen. He was due to have a scan yesterday, I think, a second one. Because Gabriel's now been out, he's not going to go, oh, he hasn't trained this week. He's going to be more honest with you this week now. So you might get a definitive timeline on Gabriel. I think there's every chance he won't play till next year. I don't think there's a reason to keep. So for me, Gabriel sell. Ricardo Martinez says, hello from LA. Start bench transfer for O'Reilly. Virgil, Anderson, Chalobah. I'm leaning as follows. Start Chalobah, bench Anderson, transfer Van Dijk. I wouldn't be starting Chalobah. I agree with low scoring, but I still wouldn't be starting Chalobah over Van Dijk this week. So, in that position, looking at Chelsea's fixtures moving forward, also knowing Chalobah might not start at Leeds in 14, be selling Chalobah. Matt Ridey says, hi James, please give all fans some hope, thoughts and benefit of free hit 16 and 13. Stip that. The best advice I can give the Wolves fans is listen to yesterday's Clash of Correspondence. Because the best thing to do in a difficult time like this is to be able to have the ability to laugh at yourselves. And it's bad. And I think Bradley Parker was superb on yesterday's Clash of Correspondence. I can't give you any. I can't give you any. Do you know what's more important for Wolves? It's not this season, it's next season. Can't see them getting out of it. Ricky Young says, who is a Spurs player from the past you really like but doesn't get the recognition he deserves? For me, Scott Parker. Yeah, Scott's a decent shout. He was absolutely superb the first 6 months he joined. Absolutely brilliant. He won our player of the year in a year where Modric and Bale were very good as well. So, that tells you the impact Scott Parker had. Absolutely brilliant in those first 6 months. Faded towards the end of that season, but brilliant the first 6 months. I'd probably be more inclined to go someone that played with us for longer. So I'll give you one, Michael Dawson for me. I really liked Dawes. I knew what I got from Dawes every week. He wasn't blessed with great pace. He could be a little bit erratic in terms of his longer distribution sometimes, but it was a weapon if he got it right as well. I tell you what, reliable. I'm absolutely certain. He's no Christian Romero. He's no Mickey van der Ven. I'll tell you, Michael Dawson been on that pitch at Arsenal at the weekend, would have played better. So I'm going to say Michael Dawson. Trusty, a leader. Hart Savor says, hi James, got 3 Crystal Palace, no Villa, no Brentford, only Haaland from City. Would rather go free hit or triple captain right now. Don't have wild card left. The way you've even shaped that answer, you're wanting me to say free hit now. So that's what I'm going to say. David James Whiteway says, love your content, mate. Big up. FPL Juice Boys, 100% worth a watch. Love the Juice Boys. Check them out on a Tuesday night, I think, most commonly. Morecambe says, hi James, best Newcastle assets in defence and midfield for the longer term. Well, Chow for me, defence. I tell you one I might end up with this week. And it could be a surprise one I come to a conclusion on tonight. It's Bruno Guimaraes. I really like Bruno Guimaraes' prospects for 14 and 15. Wouldn't be looking at him as a long term though. Long term, I don't fit any of them. Like Gordon, it's fit, isn't he? So it's not him, not Barnes. The attacking one that I'm still most interested in is Voltemada, and he might make it in for me. Linter says, hi James, at 65k, have wildcard free hit. Do you think there's any value in... Oh, jeez. I'm sorry, mate. Well done on your absolutely amazing rank. Whether you wildcard or free hit is going to be personally dependent. I don't think it's black and white. This is better than that. I'm very sorry. Dan says, hey James, no major issues this week, but trying to be aggressive. Do you like a Dan Burn to Nico O'Reilly move? Have good cover for worried Burn only gets odd start now with Cher, Hall and Tino back. So I think Dan Burn will be okay for minutes. I think he'll get back in, but there's a possibility that's not correct. So yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that move. Foot says, afternoon James, not seen anyone mention that if City get a comfortable lead by 60th, 70th minute. Haaland could be subbed early with a midweek fixture. Of course, will have some returns by then, yes. That I remember one of the earliest, I think the first week I owned Haaland, I want to say ever, might have been. Or did I start with him? I can't remember. Anyway, I remember when he got a hat-trick against Nottingham Forest, midweek set of fixtures in August, and took him off at half-time. You'd take that, wouldn't you? Oh, damn, only 15 points. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I'd need to... Oh, you're saying, but it's not ideal for the triple captain. For instance, against Burnley in the season, he got returns very late. Yeah, but I'm just giving you an example. It can go the other way around, right? Adi Tour says, remember, he equates to so much of City's XG at the moment. Adi Tour says, hi, James. On wildcard with bench boost 17, which would be the best two keepers? Bench boost 17. Dubravka. It's not the worst fixture, Bournemouth away. And I don't think anything else is worth paying more for a second keeper. So then ultimately, I'm saying for Bruggen, Dubravka is where I'm likely to go. For Bruggen's at home to Sunderland, it's fine. It's the same as me, mate. Omri Yaron says, how do you see Spurs attack and mids? First 11 when Kulusevski, Maddison are back. There's no point even having the Maddison conversation because it's probably not going to play this season, mate. And I had this discussion with my dad this morning about Kulusevski. It's like there was pictures of Dragoshin running 2 months ago. I ain't seen anything of Kulusevski running yet. So, hopes of him returning prior to Christmas, I don't think he will. I mean, looking at February possibly now. I hope that's wrong, obviously. Kulusevski is a 10. Can definitely work. But look, this week we've seen Tottenham play pretty much a disastrous version of a 5-4-1. Sorry, 5-4-1. And then last night, play a very effective version of a 4-2-2-2 that looked like a 4-4-2 out of possession with very strong man-to-man pressing to compete opposite of Sunday. Tottenham aren't good enough to have a one-size, this is the way we play every week at the moment. Arsenal are now at the stage, Tottenham are miles from this, and years. Arsenal now at the stage, we don't need to be going somewhere like Chelsea and going, we need to play differently. Now, within that, Arsenal could tweak, right? Like Marino drifting to the right on Sunday, as I discussed on the pod on Monday. They can do things like that within the same setup as a more central zones, all those kind of things. Arsenal will play. We know how Arsenal will play at Chelsea. We probably even know the team. Within that, you'll get tweaks. For Spurs, I don't think it's Kulusevski's back and he's a number 10. Kulusevski can play on the right. Kulusevski could play on the left in an emergency. Kulusevski could play as the false 9 in emergency. My number 9s tend to not stay fit very much, so I'll probably see that at some stage. First 11, if everyone's fit. Let me show you this a different way. The sort of team that I would like to see at the moment has a real problem with left wing specifically, but it has to be a single pivot. That's the big thing for me now. One central midfield player. I.e., you can have two in front, or last night it's kind of played Gray next to alongside Bentancur. This Bentancur and Polina stuff, now he's got to stop. They don't play together anymore. Don't play together anymore unless you're just sitting on a lead. Don't play together anymore. Sarr's athleticism, Bergvall's ball carrying. I'd like to see Xavi Simons as a deeper player, as I've said. So something like Bentancur as the 6 with Sarr and Simons as 8s is more what I'd like to see. Kudos right, Mawani as the 9. Probably Odebear left at the moment. That's not great for the audio listeners, but those on YouTube will have seen my face was like, oh, I love that. Udogi left back, Porro right back, Romero Van der Ven. Roughly it's that. And it's now 2 minutes past 4, guys. I'm going to leave that there. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions for the stream. Sorry I not got through to all of you. If you want to tag me at Planet FPL Pod on Twitter or Blue Sky, not in my DMs, please, then I'll happily answer your question at some point later today. But I also need some sleep, and I also need to plan this wildcard draft for tomorrow's weekender. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. I'm happy to announce as well that in December, we are doing something we've done before, a little present for all our patrons. Everyone's getting boosted up a tier. So All the basic plus tier patrons will get access to all the podcasts throughout December. All the intermediate plus patrons will have access to all the advanced content throughout the month. Even free members can expect some additional podcasts throughout the month. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. For those of you listening to the audio, a 5-star review goes a really long way. For those of you on YouTube, smash a like, hit the sub button. As always, please be nice to each other and play it your way. Cue music, please, Mansholt.